good to be back. And again, we have a new topic. We're going to be discussing about cross tourism and cross border tourism and how that affects peace. So tourism allows people to know each other. It also works as it also helps us work together. So because of cross border tourism, first we're going to discuss what cross border tourism is. It is when people travel from cross borders to neighboring regions and neighboring countries, and by doing this they interact with other people. They get to learn how to work with each other, how to respect and appreciate each other's culture, and how to learn good things from their culture and bring back. So I don't think there is anything wrong with cross culture tourism and cross border tourism, because it's only going to expand our horizon, and it's only going to expand tourism as an industry. And as we all know, today tourism as an industry is already a growing industry, and with the speed it's growing today, it's really rapid. And with increase of tourism, it's going to increase our economy as a country, and it's only going to get us higher in the parameters of the world, and compare us with other countries. So it's only going to result have good benefits as good benefits. Also, tourism leads to cross culture, which also leads to different nations building understanding between each other. So when we travel to other places, it is we don't realize it, tourists as a very small entity do not realize it, but on a bigger whole, you're actually building a bridge between two nations. When you go to a different country, you're building a relationship between the country, you're building a relationship of understanding with that country. And Gandhiji once also said that tourism is a language of peace. It is a way to bridge distance. It is a way to get to know and get influenced. And now I would think Chinmay would like to add to it.
And in the same way, Gandhiji acquired India independence, and even to South Africa, you can see how by the peace and by the cross-border tourism and by going to different places and educating them about non-violence, they acquired independence over there also. And we can also say that by the cross-border thing, we acquire our different culture gets together, and the different knowledge and everything. You, even if you don't speak their language, due to tourism you can meet them, you can talk with them about even without knowing their language due to tourism. And also we can say that countries are having good relationship with each other due to this cross border thing. We can see that we have a now good relationship with USA, with European countries, with Russia and everything, due to tourism, as many tourists are going over there and for the tourist activities. So in the whole thing, it's leading to world peace at a bigger level.
Hmm. Tourism, we are discussing it on a very grassroots level, that tourists go to a city, they experience and enjoy the activities and culture of that country. But it's not just that. When you look at the broader picture, when you look at it from a bird's point of view, it is a very big image that tourism will lead to world peace. It will lead to a time in the world where we can actually bridge gaps. Today, because of tourism, the relationship between India and Pakistan are softening. When we go to their country or they come to our country, they learn about our culture and what is the best way to learn about somebody. What is the best way to learn about each other? How do you build an environment of peace and harmony? It is when you start interacting with others. So when you interact with others of other nations, other countries, that's how tourism increases. That's how you understand their culture, you understand their values, and you somehow create an environment of harmony and peace. And I don't think that would ever be possible without tourism. If you don't willingly choose to go to their area and enjoy and experience what they are doing, you will never be able to know what it is. And hence you will never be able to build an environment of understanding. And in order to have peace, you need to have understanding. And this we know. And humans are a society. We live in a society, we live in a environment where we interact with each other in order to understand each other. And for that we need tourism more than anything.
And we can also take example of US relationship with Mexico and Cuba, like how it was worsening, and now due to tourism, it's getting developed slowly and slowly. How President Obama went to the Cuba and Mexico and developed the relationship, and now due to tourism, it's developing more and more each and every year.
And 1 billion tourists are expected to travel the world, and that number has been constantly growing over the years, and it is a forecast to still grow. For example, travel and tourism have been instrumental in softening relations, like I've already said. The way tourism is, it is a means of world peace and dialogue. Taken seriously, tourism can actually play a very vital role in bringing peace and building harmony between people, as tourism promotes peace through cultural exchange. Most peace efforts take place after the conflict, and peace promotes aspirants focus on reconciliation. This reconciliation takes place usually between uh, tourists when we do cross culture, when we go to other countries, when we interact, when we talk to other people. That is how cultural diversity, we as a humans can embrace cultural diversity by interacting and by traveling and going to new places, meeting new people, understanding their culture, and just bringing peace and harmony between everybody.
And we can also see that there's a thing that passport index number, that how powerful is your country passport, and it's that how strong your countries has relationship with other countries, and how the peace is developed. And we can see that the Germany passport of Germany and even Singapore, they have a very strong relationship. Like you can go to more than 190 countries without even need for visas. How it's possible? It's possible because of cross culture tourism, and which is leading to greater peace between the countries, and their relationship are getting much more stronger each and every year. So it's increasing each and every year, and that's why it's leading to more tourism and everything, and a world peace.
So we would like to conclude with saying that tourism goes hand in hand with world peace, and due to tourism, world peace and harmony can be expected in the future, and it's already making changes in the world. We're already becoming very more sensitive and accommodating of others, and I'm sure tourism plays a very vital role in that. I would also love to clear or clarify any other queries my opponent team has. So
Okay. Good morning, all. The hype around tourism, which we have in this present century, is somewhat similar to the hype we had for atom bombs just before World War II. Respected members of the jury, my worthy opponents, and my dear friends, today I'm here to say my views on how tourism is a vehicle for global peace, and I wish to speak against this motion. As my worthy opponents were saying, tourism can promote global peace. But let me tell my dear friends, tourism is not always connoted with peace and prosperity as you might think. Most of the global issues we face today is caused because of class and social inequalities, which is in fact disparity in income or social status between different communities or countries. And if you take the case of tourism, tourism focuses only on some certain tourist destinations. Like in the case of India, if you take 61% of tourists who come to India visit just Delhi, Agra, and Jaipur. What about the other places? Won't they also want to get some kind of tourist people? Won't they also feel to have the prosperity which these three places in India have? Tourism focuses only on certain areas, certain places, certain people. What about the others? Can't this disparity cause a kind of strife and lead to internal conflict between different communities? It's very worthy to note in Nigeria that a certain community, a certain tribal community in a remote land, were deprived of their basic necessities like resources, water, transportation, etc. because all of that was to be given for the capital city, which receives most tourists. Another key issue we have to notice here is that most of the countries who want to grow themselves as bustling tourist destination, give very liberal visa policies. Like you take the case of Thailand, Hong Kong, or Mexico and all, they have the most liberal visa policy. Any country can visit these, any person from any country can visit these countries without a legal travel documents. How can you say that this particular liberal visa policy can lead to a very pluralistic society? I think you might remember the case of Mehul Choksky, who was a person who has done bank robbery, bank-related issues in India and went to Antigua just because of the reason that Antigua has one of the most liberal visa policies in the world. Another issue we have to take care of here is that the cultural exposure can indeed lead to issues. Also, many countries like Iraq, Syria, Yemen, etc. have very immense potential for tourism. But just because of the reason that they face certain internal disparities, internal issues, they are being deprived of this particular prosperity of tourism. So how can someone reach a blind conclusion that tourism is the only vehicle for global peace? We need to have numerous other intergovernmental interactions and interventions like the United Nations or the United Nations Fund for Global Peace, etc., to intervene and promote global peace, and not just tourism for peace. As I agree with you that peace, global tourism, in fact, makes people to understand the cultural significance, but that is not enough for global peace. Global peace needs to have a better understanding of the communities, better development, better distribution of income. If all these are done by all the government interventions, then only tourism can become a vehicle for global peace. Therefore, I conclude by saying that tourism is not the only vehicle we can have for global peace, but we need to have more other solid basic issues to be solved. Thank you.
Very well spoken. I would just like to say that my operant team has actually helped me prove my point. You very smartly stated that in order for communities to get world peace, you need to work within the community and you need to, evolve so that inter-community rivalries stop and all that. But if you think about it, how does one develop? How does one grow? When you get exposed to other cultures. So if you want a community to grow, if you want a subordinate community to grow internally within, how will it grow when it does not have the growth in itself? It needs to interact with other communities. When it will meet with other culture, it will get influenced, and that influence will be positive. Of course, I agree tourism is like a knife. It's a double-sided knife. It can fall either ways. I'm not disputing that tourism has its drawbacks, but when it comes to world peace, trust me when I say it is the only way out in order to promote world peace is through tourism.
In a different way. Actually, what I meant was resolve the issues between, differences between communities.
And you can also say that a recent deal with Saudi Arabia and Israel.
What I actually meant was with external communities.
Sorry, please continue. Your voice keeps breaking.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are now.
Team Alpha, go ahead.
Yeah, so what issues? We need to solve intercommunal issues, and then we have to foster tourism. Tourism is not the only.
So you're saying we do have to foster tourism. We just need to grow ourselves first. So you're saying when we grow individually, only then we should be allowed to go travel and get tourism. But that's so unfair. Imagine you're saying that if a community within needs to grow, you're saying it is not ready for tourism yet, but it should be ready. And once it is ready, and it's not like we don't have initiatives. You think government is not taking initiatives to grow communities within? You think government is not taking initiative to expand communities in a way that they develop profitably for the nation? There are enough initiatives taken by the government in order to protect this. There are enough initiatives taken by the tourism industry as a whole. Today, it is an industry that is growing at such a rapid speed. You think they did not pay attention on details like this? Of course they did. They know how communities are already not how communities don't work together with each other and they don't have the understanding. But you are saying they don't have the understanding. I'm agreeing with you, they don't have the understanding. But how will that understanding grow? The topic